Hello, gente. This is Rosaura Figueroa Mendoza, Rosa Salvaje. And I'm just sitting here in the studio, and something I thought about yesterday was that it would be interesting to talk about just like my process in making the depression song that I put out recently. And that was I put that song out because that's what I'm feeling right now. Just depression, right? And I don't want it to be something that I hide away and keep hiding away, and I don't say it to get self-pity or attention or anything like that. I'm really a big fan of transparency and just being able to say exactly what's going on with you. Because I think a lot of the times, what happens with me, for example, or what has happened in the past is that something's really bothering me, something's really wrong, and I don't speak up and I don't say anything. And then the people around me, I think that I've definitely been in situations where like I'm seeing that a person's not fully okay, and then I don't understand, like I'm confused or I don't know how to deal with them or whatever it is. And so that's why I'm a fan of transparency, just being able to say, hey, this is what's going on with me and I'm in a lot of pain and it hurts. And so I think that I'm in this process right now where I'm just trying to heal from a lot of trauma that I've gone through. And it's not easy, right? Because again, like the last time I was really truly happy, man, probably like 5, 6, 7 years old, because from, when you grow up in an environment where there's a lot of violence and physical abuse and verbal and psychological and, I think that there's so much that starts getting stacked up against you, especially when you're a child and you don't know how to deal with it. There's a lot of things that happen and you don't know how to deal with it and you just keep letting them happen, right? And so there comes a point where you feel, at least I do, I feel like I'm suffocating, I'm trying to fight, I'm trying to move forward, I'm trying to live my best life, I'm trying to be happy, but a lot of things are holding me back, especially like all this pent up anger and frustration and feeling humiliated a lot of the times and not speaking up for myself, not standing up for myself and others that have been around me, right? And so I think, so I think depression is something that's really serious that we need to be able to talk about, and just mental health in general, being able to talk about that and have real honest discussions. It could be really hard. We're not all equipped to be able to handle such conversations. I would say that I have a little bit of a leg up just because of my godmother, who's amazing, who is a therapist. And very early on, I just started being able to pick up on a lot of like being able to express yourself and the wording and certain concepts and ideas, right, that are within therapy. And just her being an overall amazing person and very nurturing, very like communicative and very nice and sweet, and I really appreciate her. But even me, like, that I feel has a little bit tiny aspect of more understanding than the average person, it's still hard, it's still difficult, right? So I can imagine that if you grow up in an environment where you don't talk about things, you don't talk about mental illness, or you don't find healthy ways to cope with it, then it's going to be really, really difficult, and it can make life really hard. So for me, I just felt like I needed to make this song titled Depression, where I'm talking about like, this is what I actually go through when I'm depressed. The way that my depression manifests itself is me laying down pretty much all day, not giving a care about anything or anybody in the world, and just like zoning out with Netflix. And it gets to the point where like I'm not showering, I'm not eating, I'm not like doing anything that like a human would do for me to feel like a human being. I'm just kind of shutting myself off from the world, and that could go on for 2-3 days, and then I come out of it trying to like find my way again. And it's hard, right? Because after 2-3 days, you feel like, I don't know, like it's hard to come back from that. You're kind of like digging this hole, and it makes it harder to come out, right? And so I've been going through, I've dealt with depression like for a long time. The first time I really, really felt it was when I was 16. I went to therapy for that. But I can remember as young as 8 years old being in third grade and feeling like the inklings of social anxiety, not really knowing how to fit in, how to talk to people, how to communicate, and a lot of that can be traced back to like my family household and how my brother and I grew up, and our parents, and just our family, and how when something would happen that was major, instead of being able to communicate about it, there would be physical abuse or verbal abuse. When we did try to like ask questions or whatever, it's like, you're stupid, you're this, you're that. So we never fully, like, I don't know, like we don't really talk about things. We just kind of sweep things under the rug and keep going and moving forward without fully understanding, wait, why was that wrong? Why was that thing wrong that I did? All you did was hit me, but I still don't understand like what happened or why, right? And even when the hitting stopped around like 10, 11, 12, right? It was still like the verbal abuse and like the psychological and feeling completely unsafe in my own household, right? Feeling like I had to walk on eggshells, right? And so I think all of this, I remember the therapist when I was 16, her telling me that, I was just like, I think I'm depressed. Like, I don't know what's happening, right? And me not knowing like exactly, like I know I'm depressed, but I don't know where it's coming from. Now I understand it comes from like this long line of not being able to express myself fully, not feeling safe, not feeling like I could fully, like I had something to contribute, because whenever I did say something, I felt like it was like, you're stupid, you're this, you're that. I would get bullied like by my own family member, my brother, like, right? And so I remember when I first went to the therapist at 16, she told me, yeah, you're dealing with depression. That's like the common cold. Like we can take care of that, right? And so I think one of the things that happened is that I went to therapy for like a little bit when I was 16, but I didn't fully, it's like a full, like to really invest in your mental health, it's like a full commitment to like, I'm going to go to therapy. I'm going to do whatever it is I need to do to deal with this depression and to find coping skills for anxiety or whatever it is, right? And so it could be really, really hard. But I guess the point that I'm trying to get at is that it's okay to talk about these things. Like if you ever feel like you need to talk about it, come find me. I have my boundaries too. I'm not a therapist or anything like that. I get drained like when people tell me about their shit, but for the most part, like I think it is really important to be able to have someone to listen to you, especially when you're going through a tough time, right? There's actually one of the youth here, the kids that I work with here in the clubhouse are so fucking smart, like beyond words, right? And one of the kids was saying, we were actually talking about, he was telling me about this bridge in Los Angeles that like apparently it's haunted because so many people have committed suicide from that bridge. They've thrown themselves off. And then I was telling him like, yeah, dude, there's a whole documentary on the Golden Gate Bridge where they have like actual footage of like people that have thrown themselves off the bridge to commit suicide, right? And so he got into this whole thing of like, I don't understand why people commit suicide. Like, I don't understand how there's people in the world that don't have someone to talk to. Like, everyone should have someone to talk to. Like, especially if you're going through tough times. And I was just like listening to him speak, just like, yes, that's so true. We should all have someone that could listen to us, right? And so if you're like me and you don't want to bother people with your problems, and I'm very, very picky with who I tell my shit to, because there's not a lot of people I trust. And so I can understand how like you would keep things to yourself, especially because you don't feel like anybody would care or anybody would listen or anything. But I'm telling you that there are people out there. The suicide hotline is available. If you need the number, just listen to Logic's song with Khaled and fucking, what's her name? That girl. And it's 1-800 whatever, 273 something. Look it up, dude. We have Google, so fucking look that shit up. Anyways, so yeah, so I felt like as a way to heal, I needed to express myself and talk a little bit about my process of making depression. The beat making was actually really fun. It was here on Ableton, here in the clubhouse in the music studio. And I've been slowly learning how to put together. At first I was like, now I understand that I'm arranging sounds. I'm not actually producing. I eventually want to get to producing where I'm able to actually make beats from scratch, like on the piano or whatever it is, like on a MIDI keyboard. We used to have them. They're like over there somewhere. But right now I'm just arranging sounds that I find here on Ableton or on Splice. My coworker has an account, we'll say. So just learning Ableton. Actually, I'm thinking about taking a class at Chabot. So continuing to create beats. The lyrics were, it took me, like, I finished the beat and then I was able to sit a little bit with the beat and just keep listening to it and kind of just like, you know, sometimes for the most part, I free write a lot of the time. You know, I've been free writing since I was a kid. So that's where my ideas spring up. You know, things will come up where, like, okay, cool, like I could start with this line. And then a lot of what I do is I try to rhyme a lot and make sure that it kind of sounds good together, right? And so, yeah, I think it was a fun process. Like, it's the actual recording portion was really frustrating because I kept being critical of my voice. I'm not a singer, I'm a storyteller. I just want to be able to tell the story and use my voice doing so. And so it's just kind of interesting going through that process of recording, right? Because when you record yourself, you can freaking hear it, and you know, there's this resistance to like listening to my own voice, because I want to kind of tell myself all these negative things about how like my voice is terrible and blah blah blah. But you know, I think it's what's overpowering that is the need to just express myself and tell my story. Because there has been so many years of me not being able to express myself and say what I truly think because I felt unsafe or because I felt like I would get hit, literally. That has happened. And, you know, so the beat making, the lyric making, the recording, I'm starting to really, I enjoy the process of creating and being able to put something out where I'm able to create something and have fun with it, and hopefully something I put out is going to be helpful for somebody, whether you're just grooving to it and listening to it or you're actually kind of picking up on the message, you know. So that's me. Yeah, and again, the song came out of the fact that I'm actually dealing with depression, right? I've been going to therapy now. I've actually committed now, right? So the first time I went was when I was 16. The next time I went, I was about maybe like 23, 24, 25. But it was like, I just didn't continue. And now I've been going to a private therapist. The first 2 times was with Kaiser, and it felt like there was no continuous, like, you know, the appointments would be hella spread apart. Like, it was crazy. Like, it was just weird. The times didn't work sometimes because of work, especially later when I was like 23, 24, 25. But now I've been going regularly to my therapist. I finally made the commitment of like, no, I have to like do this now, like, or else I'm gonna explode. But yeah, so finally I'm now going to therapy. I've been going to therapy. I forgot where I was going with that. Her name's Leticia Vaca. She looks like Beyonce. I love her. She's amazing. She's so cool. I get starstruck whenever I see her. I think I have a crush on her. Yeah, so anyways, I guess I was just tying it back to how I didn't just write a song called Depression just for the hell of it. It's because I'm actually feeling it, you know. I'm going through that right now, and so I'm continuing to find ways to like finally just kind of let go of all the heaviness and return to my child self. And she's in there. She comes out sometimes to play, but for the most part, the baseline is depression and sadness and frustration and feeling like I always want to cry and there's something in my throat, and I don't know, maybe it's psychological, but it's just felt for a long time like I just have all this weight on me and I can't seem to just be my full true self, right? And so I really am looking forward to being able to get in touch with my child self and have her at the forefront of my life moving forward, because she's really cool. I like her. She's really funny and curious about everything and vivacious and bubbly and just is a good person. So I'm really looking forward to bringing her out and making her a fixture in my life, like a permanent fixture of like always being able to come back to baseline, you know. And the way my godmother put it is like, we all have shit that we go through, you know. We're gonna be depressed, we're gonna be sad, we're gonna cry about stuff, we're gonna be angry and frustrated, but being able to bounce back, being able to come back to baseline of, I'm happy, I'm content, I am good, you know, I'm balanced. So homeostasis for me right now is really important. And, you know, so I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, so that's what brought on the creation of depression. So that's it. I don't have anything else to say except there's another song coming, produced by Jose Carlos Montesinos here at the Clubhouse. So be on the lookout for that.